there, my name is Daniel O'Brien, and welcome to another mysterious episode of Obsessive Pop Culture Disorder, the only show on the internet that my dad calls, I know the world is changing, but I still wish people your age didn't curse so much. Today's episode explores... Pinocchio is a classic morality tale teaching children that if you work hard, avoid fun, and never lie, you will lose your inability to feel pain and transform into a fragile meat sack with a finite amount of time on this planet. Feels like you'd be better off staying as a terrifying immortal wood creature, if you ask me. Your one downside is the no lying thing, but you wouldn't even need to lie if everyone fears you, Popsicle Pete, but okay, whatever. For those who haven't seen the movie in a while, Geppetto is the lonely woodworker who wishes on a star that he can have a child of his own, and then a blue fairy shows up to turn a wooden doll of his into a still wooden doll, but one with consciousness and the ability to move freely for whatever reason. He's not real yet. Not until he, and not Geppetto, passes some tests. Seems weird that wishes come with conditions, and weirder still that it falls on Pinocchio to earn his realness when he never asked to exist in the first place. Geppetto is the one with the wish, but within seconds of being born, Pinocchio is told that he is not a real boy. F***ed up. Imagine being born and feeling like you're alive and fine and the same as everything else, and then a beautiful being shows up to be like, not so fast, you're different. In a bad way. You need to be better if you want to be real. Why wouldn't you just make him real, fairy? Damn! In Catholicism, when babies are born with original sin, we don't ask the babies to fix it, you sprinkle some water on them. Also, his instructions are hard for anyone to follow, let alone a child who is minutes old. He was told if he wants to be a real boy, all he needs to do is...
prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday you will be a real boy.
Brave, truthful, and unselfish? He's like 40 seconds old, lady. I'm barely any of those things now. Brave? I don't even have the courage to tell a waiter he got my order wrong. I just eat it. And I'm legally a real adult man. But luckily, Pinocchio is not alone in this. To help him along his journey, he's got Jiminy Cricket and Geppetto. Pinocchio's situation is incredibly unique. He goes from not existing to suddenly being like 8 years old with a fully developed vocabulary, but none of the other skills a typical child would acquire over those 8 years. He knows his name and how to sing and rotate his freaky body 360 degrees, but he doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, or how to avoid danger.
Right and wrong? But how will I know?
Or that hats with feathers are for pimps like Robin Hood Fox, and you, sir, are no Robin Hood Fox. My point is, there's no precedent for Pinocchio's existence, and I don't know who in the world would be my top choice for guardian for this very specific situation. I don't know who is most equipped to handle a sudden, blank slate child, but it's not Geppetto. Geppetto does nothing in the way of acclimating Pinocchio to society. As soon as Pinocchio is born, or happens, or whatever, all Geppetto does is like, that's a fish and that's a cat, this is dancing, you are my son. And then they go to sleep. Because Geppetto insists,
Mario's got to go to school.
Why?
Pinocchio gets sent to school the first time he sees the sun. Go to sleep now, you've got school in the morning. Why is right, Pinocchio? First of all, Geppetto, what the f***? I want a child. I'm so lonely, all I want is a child. And before they've even spent 24 hours together, he's like, well, you better get going now. Go be alone 5 days a week, every week for many hours for like 18 years. I prayed on a shooting star that I'd be granted a real boy because I wanted to really experience the pleasure of immediately sending him away. Second of all, what was your plan? Geppetto gives Pinocchio an apple, a single book, and says, go to school. We don't know if Pinocchio can read, or if he understands what apples are, or if he knows what direction school is, or what directions are, or what school is, or how time works, or literally anything. Geppetto couldn't have spent a few days catching Pinocchio up on how the world works, or even getting to know his new son. Instead, he sends Pinocchio out alone. And then when Pinocchio obviously gets sidetracked and doesn't return home, this happens.
What could have happened to him?
Well, he was 6 hours old and you sent him out into the world completely alone, so anything could have happened to him. I mean, in point of fact, a talking fox named Honest John that stands and walks like a man kidnapped him and sold him to a gypsy named Stromboli, offensive, who runs a puppet show because Honest John could immediately see the value of marionette that operates without strings. But to answer your question in a general sense, literally anything could have happened. Anything. A bunch of us could have run a gambling pool on things that could happen to shiny, stupid Pinocchio today on his first day of life, and someone could have put money on Talking Fox kidnaps him. And the rest of us would be like, hey, maybe, because there's talking foxes here. Also, I have more reason to suspect that Geppetto might not totally be the best guardian for anyone. Let's not forget that when Pinocchio goes missing, Geppetto goes out looking for him, and...
He went looking for you, and he was swallowed by a whale.
Whale! He didn't slip on the slick streets or get hit by a carriage or struck by lightning or something almost normal. He got swallowed by a whale, something that's so hard to accidentally do when you're looking for a wooden puppet who only knows the land. At what hour did Geppetto think, Pinocchio's been gone for so long? You know what? I bet he's at sea. Let me just grab my cat and my fish and my boat and go to wherever is deep enough for whales to be and just shout Pinocchio and see what happens. You are not equipped for anything. Who is going to watch Geppetto when this movie is over?
I never thought It would end this way, Figaro, starving to death in the belly of a whale.
Really? Because a bunch of us did. It was in our gambling pool about you. Also, let's look at this scene. Geppetto's just finished playing with Pinocchio, and a ton of clocks start going off. And after a full 30 seconds of that, Geppetto says,
I wonder what time it is.
You wonder it's whatever time you set all 900 alarms for, you old maniac. Hey, speaking of Geppetto being a maniac, I'm like you. I was an audience member who saw Geppetto build the kid, then watched the magic being granted sentience, and then I watched the kid learn a lesson that helped make him a real boy. But no one in their town saw that, so what happens next? Geppetto will just show up to church one day with an 8-year-old child no one's ever seen before and claim it as his son, Pinocchio. And his friends, I'm being generous, would be like, everyone stop church right now. Hey, Geppetto, where the did you get that kid? Tell me right this second. And what do you say to that? What non-creepy explanation can a kooky old single man give to ease everyone's concerns? The truth? I made him out of wood and now he's real, just ask his cricket. Nope. Even if Pinocchio backs him up and is like, it's true, honest, I can't tell a lie. Horrible things happen to me if I lie. And I'm some other guy in this town, this is the scariest, creepiest story I've ever encountered. And you'd have to imagine there's some weird sex stuff going on, right? Between them? The kid would seem clearly brainwashed. Plus, I'm certain there's already whispers around town about the weird old cat owner who makes all those bizarre clocks. Yeah, did you forget about that clock? The red handprints and the child butt, and there's no other action on that clock. It's always ass slap o'clock there. I bet the townsfolk didn't forget. In short, there's no way this ends well for Pinocchio. As soon as the guy who's famous for making terrifying clocks claims he suddenly has a miracle son, nice try, we don't know where you got that kid from, but you're not keeping him. He lives with the state now. Get your horny fish, get your forever a kitten cat, tell your f***ing bug that your time here is over. Grab up all your shit and beat it, Geppettophile. You do not live here anymore. After Pinocchio escapes from Stromboli and learns not to lie anymore, he's on his way home when he is again picked up by Honest John and sold to a stagecoach driver who takes him to Pleasure Island with a bunch of other misfit kids. This is more of an aside than an actual entry on a list of why Pinocchio as a movie doesn't make any sense, but how is Pleasure Island profitable? Here's, as best I can understand it, the stagecoach driver pays Honest John handsomely to recruit delinquent children to come to Pleasure Island, which is an amusement park, plus a bar, plus a cigar shop, plus a safe place to cause some general destruction without consequences, and it's all free to the children. And then magically, the children get turned into donkeys, which I guess the stagecoach driver flips for cash, but like, what can you really get for a donkey? Is it more than running an entire amusement park that you must have to constantly repair? He must be making some money, but then he's gotta be pouring it all right back into stealing kids, buying fresh kegs and cigars, rebuilding all the structural damage done by the previous batch of kids so the next batch of kids don't think they're walking into a shithole. I mean, I'm not a financial guy or whatever, but I feel like if I got to look at his books, I could really ow! Really? Already? Okay, we know the drill. Put
2 minutes and 8/10 of a second
on the clock. Here we go. Jiminy is a shit conscience. When he realizes that Pinocchio is going to the theater with Honest John instead of school, he says, I'll go and tell his father. But then he thinks better of it, turns direct to camera and says,
No, that'd be snitching.
Never too early to warn children about what begets snitching, I suppose. Next, 2 of the lessons Pinocchio was supposed to learn were about being brave and unselfish. Here's Pinocchio talking to Jiminy about his new best friend, Lampwick.
He's my best friend.
Here's Lampwick getting scared for his life a few minutes later.
I've been double-crossed! Help! Help! Call that beetle! Call anybody!
And here's Pinocchio's brave and unselfish response to Lampwick's desperate cries for help. Lampwick's my best friend! Pinocchio, please call my mom. What's that, Lampwick? Did you say f*** off forever? On it! Go! The place where Honest John and his cat get shit-faced after selling Pinocchio is a Red Lobster? That's weird. Red Lobster get a piece of that? Was Red Lobster around to sue and get a piece of that sweet Pinocchio money? Or did Pinocchio come before Red Lobster, in which case, isn't he getting a piece of that? Isn't he getting a piece of that sweet Red Lobster money? Proceed! Pinocchio ties his tail around a rock and throws himself into an ocean. It is one of the things he does to prove he is either brave, truthful, or unselfish. It's lauded as a good thing. Interesting choice to include in a children's movie. Forward! Whales don't really do that. Just sitting on top of the water. Whales don't do that. Nuked! Honest John the fox, who twice sells Pinocchio into captivity, never gets his comeuppance. The stagecoach driver, who steals hundreds of children and turns them into donkey slaves, also just gets to keep living in this world and doing that forever. I didn't need to watch them die or anything, but that's crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? There's no time for crazy, move on! Do you guys remember when they're at the bottom of the sea and there's that one super horny fish who wants it all night from Jiminy? I didn't, until I rewatched it.
No more privacy than a goldfish.
Look how excited that fish is to see Jiminy's dick. That's crazy, right? What are you packing, Jiminy? That fish thinks it's right on. Is it pretty good? I bet it's pretty good. Let me say, actually, I'm not mad. That's probably enough time to spend on Jiminy Cricket's dick. Join us next week when our topic will be 10 insane Rugrats fan theories that in retrospect actually don't hold up all that much. One of them assumes they're supposed to be actually rats, in which case, yeah, I see that not holding up. Probably they never watched the show. Anyway, bye. Grab up all your shit and beat it, Geppettophile. You do not live here anymore.
Oh, got through that. Good.